God's chosen one. Tonight may break or make you God's chosen one. Tonight is not just another night. It is a hinge in time, a doorway that will either open into your greatest breakthrough or close with the weight of missed destiny. Heaven has set its eyes upon you. The earth is listening for your response, and the unseen realm is watching to see whether you will rise or shrink back. This is not about the noise of the world around you. It is about the still, unshakable decision within you. The storms, the delays, the unexpected blows, they are not here to destroy you. They are the final shaking before the unveiling. In this hour, the unseen is more real than the seen, and your inner posture, faith or fear, will be the hand that writes your next chapter. This is the night where your silence will speak louder than your words, where your inner agreement with God will echo across eternity. You have been prepared, broken, refined, and tested for this very moment. The outcome will not be decided by the circumstance. It will be decided by the vision you hold in your heart when the clock strikes midnight. There are nights in life that carry no special weight, where hours pass unnoticed and nothing shifts within or around you. But then there are nights like this one, nights that feel heavy with meaning, where the air seems thick with possibility, and your spirit senses that heaven has drawn near. Tonight is not an ordinary night. It is a spiritual crossroads. The unseen realm has been arranging events, aligning moments, and allowing certain pressures to converge, not to crush you, but to press you into the decision that will define your tomorrow. Every step you have taken, every tear you have cried, every trial you have endured has been leading you here. This is not coincidence. It is divine orchestration. The very atmosphere feels different because something is at stake in the spirit. There are decisions that can be postponed without consequence, but tonight is not one of them. This is the kind of night where hesitation can cost you destiny and courage can birth a miracle. You stand between two paths, one that leads you deeper into the identity heaven has declared over you, and one that drags you back into the shadows of who you used to be. At a spiritual crossroads, it is not the outward appearance of your life that matters most. It is the inner stance of your soul. You may be surrounded by silence, yet the unseen world is anything but quiet. Angels are positioned, opposition has gathered, the testing of your faith is being weighed in real time. The beauty of such moments is that they reveal the truth about you, not to God, for he already knows, but to yourself. It is one thing to say you believe, but it is another to stand unmoved when the choice before you will cost you something dear. This night, heaven is asking, do you trust my leading enough to step into the unknown? Will you release your grip on what is safe for what is promised? These are not questions that can be answered with words. They are answered by the posture of your spirit. If your heart is bowed in surrender, if your mind is fixed on the vision God has planted in you, then the outcome will tilt toward breakthrough. But if fear grips your thoughts, if you rehearse every worst case scenario until you are paralyzed, then the moment will pass, and you will wonder in days to come why you still feel stuck in the same cycle. You must understand that crossroads are sacred because they are rare. Life does not offer many of them. They do not arrive by your scheduling or on your terms. They come when the unseen deems it time, and while your physical body may feel the weight of fatigue, your spirit must remain alert. Do not mistake spiritual pressure for chaos. Pressure is often the signal that a door is about to open. If you choose the path of faith tonight, you are not merely altering your tomorrow, you are shifting the trajectory of years to come. What may feel like a small, private decision in the stillness of the night could ripple into generations you will never meet. This is why the moment feels so holy, because the stakes are eternal. But the challenge of a spiritual crossroads is that it never comes when life is calm. It almost always arrives in the middle of storm winds. You may feel unprepared, worn down, and unsure. This is by design. If the choice were easy, it would not shape you. If the step required no courage, it would carry no weight. God has been stripping away your reliance on the things you once trusted, so that, in this moment, your only anchor is Him. That is the hidden blessing of discomfort. It leaves you no option but to lean fully on the one who has never failed you. The temptation tonight will be to choose the familiar over the faithful, to grasp at what is secure instead of embracing what is true. But the familiar path will only lead you back to the very chains you have been praying to be free from. This is why the crossroads demands clarity. You cannot make your choice based on the noise around you. Tonight you must hear with the ears of your spirit. The external evidence may argue against your faith. The people around you may try to persuade you toward the safe route. Fear may whisper that you are not ready, but heaven is not looking at your readiness. It is looking at your willingness. God is not asking you to have all the answers. He is asking you to take the step that proves you believe he already does. Faith has never been about seeing the entire path. It has always been about taking the first step without knowing how the next will appear. And here lies the truth that many miss. A crossroads is not just about your decision, it is about your alignment. If you stand at the fork in the road with your heart aligned to fear, you will find that even the right choice feels wrong because your spirit will not carry the power to walk it out. But if you align your inner world to God's promise before you move, then even the harder path will feel light because his strength will carry you through. Alignment is the hidden victory before the visible one. Tonight, that alignment happens in the quiet, when you turn inward and say, God, I trust you even when I do not understand you. I choose the path that honors you, no matter what it costs me. That is the moment the spiritual tide turns in your favor. Do not underestimate the weight of what you carry into this night. You are not just making a choice for yourself. You are fulfilling part of a story that was written before you were born. Every delay, every heartbreak, every loss, every unanswered question was not a detour. It was preparation for this very point. You are not standing here by accident. You are standing here because you have been chosen to stand. This is why the enemy has fought you so relentlessly, because he knows what happens if you choose the path of faith tonight. He knows that one act of obedience can dismantle years of his work against you. He knows that a surrendered heart is a weapon more dangerous than anything else in your possession. So as you stand at this crossroads, resist the urge to rush. This is not a decision you make with anxiety in your chest. It is one you make with peace in your soul. That peace comes from knowing that whatever is on the other side of obedience is already good because God is there. And if God is there, lack cannot be. If God is there, failure cannot win. If God is there, then the only possible outcome is victory, even if the road to it is steep. This night will either break you or make you, but the breaking is not for your destruction. It is for your building. If you break in the right hands, you will be remade into something stronger than you ever imagined. If you are made in the right moment, you will be set on a course that no force in hell can alter. And so, chosen one, stand still for a moment, feel the weight of this hour, hear the whisper of eternity, see in your mind the path that aligns with your calling. Not let fear negotiate with your future. Do not let the comfort of the familiar rob you of the power of the new. Tonight you choose, not just a road, but a destiny, and when you choose in faith, the very God who brought you to this crossroads will walk with you into the next chapter. This is your night. This is your turning point. This is your spiritual crossroads, and heaven is leaning in to see what you will do. Everything you will experience tomorrow, next month, and even years from now is being shaped this very moment, not by the people around you, not by the conditions you see, but by the picture you are holding in the hidden chambers of your mind. Life in its purest form is not an external happening. It is an internal projection. The world you live in is the mirror of what you consistently believe to be true. If you see yourself as a victim, life will hand you scenes to confirm that view. If you see yourself as a victor, even in the darkest storms, the doors of victory will swing open in ways you could never orchestrate. The outer world cannot resist the blueprint of the inner world. And tonight, in this sacred moment, you must become deeply aware of the image you are carrying within, because it will either carry you into the fulfillment of God's promise or trap you in the repetition of old battles. Understand this: God has already spoken his word over your life. Heaven has declared your identity, your calling, and your destiny, but that declaration becomes powerless in your experience if the image you hold inside contradicts it. You cannot walk in the abundance of a king while secretly believing you are unworthy of the throne. You cannot live in divine favor while picturing yourself as someone always overlooked. The inner picture is not just imagination. It is the womb of manifestation. Everything that is born in your life is first conceived in the mind. This is why the enemy attacks your thoughts before he attacks your circumstances. If he can distort your inner vision, he does not have to touch your outer reality. It will decay on its own, but if you guard your inner picture with the truth of God's promise, no external storm can uproot you. When God calls you his chosen, he is not describing your current circumstances. He is declaring your eternal identity. But here is the tension. You will only see that identity unfold in your life if you choose to believe it, even when nothing around you supports it. Your inner picture is a covenant you make with what you believe is true. If you silently agree with fear, your life will arrange itself to confirm your fears. If you silently agree with God, your life will bend and twist. Fulfill his word over you, no matter what stands in the way, and that agreement is not made with mere words. It is made with the quiet persistence of holding the vision in your spirit until it becomes flesh before your eyes. Some of you have been praying for breakthrough, yet the image you hold inside is still one of brokenness. You are asking for a new season while rehearsing the pain of the old one. You are declaring victory with your mouth while picturing defeat in your mind. This is why tonight matters. You cannot step into the reality you want while gripping the picture of the reality you fear. The two cannot coexist. The mind is a canvas, and the spirit paints on it with belief. What you allow to remain on that canvas will be your experience tomorrow. If the picture is stained with doubt, regret, or bitterness, your life will mirror those shades. But if the picture is filled with the colors of God's promises, gratitude, and faith, then even the most barren landscape will blossom in due time. This is the mystery of faith. It demands that you see before you see. It calls you to look at the invisible and treat it as more real than the visible. The inner picture becomes your anchor, not because the outer circumstances agree with it, but because the one who promised is faithful. Every great move of God in your life will start with a vision you dare to believe in your heart before it becomes visible to your eyes. Think of it. Abraham saw himself as the father of many nations long before he held Isaac. David saw himself as king while still tending sheep. Joseph saw himself ruling while still wearing the garments of a slave. None of them could afford to let the outer world dictate their inner picture, because if they had, they would have abandoned the promise before it was fulfilled. The greatest battle you will ever fight is not against people or circumstances. It is against the image of yourself that tries to contradict what God says about you. And make no mistake, that battle is fierce. Life will present you with scenes that mock your faith. People will remind you of who you used to be. The enemy will try to frame your identity through past failures or present struggles, but you must fight to hold the picture God has given you. You must guard it like treasure. You must refuse to let anything alter it. Not lack, not delay, not betrayal, not disappointment. If God has called you victorious, you must see yourself victorious even in the valley. If God has called you chosen, you must see yourself chosen even when others reject you. And here is the truth you cannot escape. The outer reality is a delayed reflection of the inner one. This means what you are living today is the echo of the pictures you held yesterday. That also means you can change your tomorrow by changing the image you hold tonight. Your mind is a seedbed, and the thoughts you nurture will eventually take root and break through the soil of your life. Do not be surprised if the harvest looks like the seeds you planted in your imagination. If you have been watering fear, you will harvest anxiety. If you have been watering hope, you will harvest joy. If you have been watering the promises of God, you will harvest miracles. So, chosen one, I must ask you, what picture are you holding right now? Is it one shaped by what you see in the natural, or by what you have heard in the spirit? Does it reflect the limitations of your past or the limitless power of your God? Tonight is not the time to passively hope for change. It is the time to deliberately choose the vision that will carry you forward, and here is the secret. Once you choose it, you must refuse to let it go. The picture must become so real in you that it feels more solid than the chair you sit on. It must be so alive in your spirit that the outer world begins to feel like the shadow, and the inner vision like the substance. This is how destinies are shaped, not in the noise of public victories, but in the quiet of private agreement, not in the applause of the crowd, but in the stillness where you say, God, I believe you over what I see. When that belief crystallizes into an unshakable inner picture, your outer reality has no choice but to conform to it. It may take days, months, or years, but the law is unchanging. What is real within will eventually become real without. Guard your picture, chosen one. Guard it when you wake and the world tries to tell you behind. Guard it when you go to bed and your mind replays the mistakes of the day. Guard it when others mock you for believing in what they cannot see, for they are not meant to see it yet. It is yours to carry until the appointed time. And when that time comes, the same voices that doubted will witness the manifestation, and they will not be able to deny the power of the unseen. Tonight, you decide the image you will carry into your future, and when you choose the vision that aligns with God's word, the outer world will bend to make it so. This is the power of the inner picture. It does not just reflect reality, it creates it. And when that picture is painted with the truth of God's promise, no force on earth can erase it. Pressure is not the sign that you are failing. It is the proof that something valuable is being shaped within you. The enemy would have you believe that weight you feel tonight is a sign to quit, but heaven knows it is the very signal that the refining fire is doing its work. A diamond is only formed when carbon is placed under intense pressure. Gold is only purified when passed through relentless heat, and your faith, chosen one, is only proven genuine when it withstands the furnace of trial. This is why tonight feels heavier than you can bear, because God is using the pressure to press out the impurities that would weaken you in the place He is taking you. The test you are in is not to destroy your belief, but to reveal it. Anyone can claim faith when the sky is blue, but true faith is revealed when the winds howl, the ground shakes, and you cannot see the way forward. That is when heaven leans in to see what remains in your spirit. Will you cling to the promise or collapse under the weight? You must understand this. The test is not about whether God will come through. He always does. The test is about whether you will remain aligned with Him while you wait. The enemy uses pressure to tempt you into doubt, fear, and self-reliance. He whispers that God has forgotten you, that the delays mean denial, that the silence means abandonment. But the truth is, the silence is not absence. It is the space where your faith either matures or withers. God knows that what you do under pressure will define not only what you receive, but also whether you can sustain it once it comes. This is why some blessings take longer than you expect. They require a level of spiritual maturity that can only be developed in the waiting and in the pressing. If He gave it to you prematurely, it might slip through your fingers because you had not yet learned the endurance required to carry it. Pressure in the hands of God is holy. It is purposeful. It is never wasted. The enemy brings it to break you. God allows it to build you. But make no mistake, the deciding factor in whether the pressure crushes you or strengthens you is the posture you take within it. If you interpret the trial as punishment, you will resist it and grow bitter. If you interpret it as preparation, you will endure it and grow stronger. The test of faith under pressure is a furnace where your trust is purified until it shines with clarity. It is in this place that you discover whether your faith is anchored in circumstances or in the character of God. Circumstance-based faith wavers with every shift in the wind. God-based faith remains steady even when the horizon is dark. Tonight, you may feel the press on every side: financial strain, relational wounds, unanswered prayers, lingering health battles. You may feel like the walls are closing in, like the time is running out, like there's no way forward. But hear this: the very fact that the pressure has not crushed you yet is proof that there is a divine strength sustaining you. You are still standing because the hand of God is still on you. The pressure is real, yes, but so is the promise. And in this very moment, heaven is watching to see whether you will choose to believe what God said over what you see. The test is simple, though not easy. Will you hold the vision in the heat of the trial? Will you keep speaking life when everything around you feels like death? Will you remain in alignment with your calling even when the path is drenched in uncertainty? There is something about faith under pressure that terrifies the enemy, because once you learn to stand in this place, you become unstoppable. If you can keep your faith alive when the winds of life are against you, you will never again be a slave to fear. The enemy's greatest weapon is the illusion that pressure means defeat. But once you see through that lie, you will begin to welcome the refining process, knowing that what emerges from it will be stronger, purer, and more unshakable than before. You will no longer dread the fire, because you will know the fire cannot consume you. It can only refine you. Remember, chosen one, that God's greatest vessels were tested under the heaviest pressure. Joseph's faith was tested in the prison before he sat on the throne. Moses' faith was tested in the wilderness before he led a nation to freedom. Daniel's faith was tested in the lion's den before he was exalted in the kingdom. Even Jesus' faith was tested in the garden before he went to the cross. Pressure is the mark of divine destiny. It means you are being entrusted with something weighty, something precious, something too valuable to be placed in untested hands. And so, if tonight you feel as though the weight is unbearable, take it as a sign that God is preparing you for something greater than you have imagined. But here is the truth you must hold: the test is not eternal. The night does not last forever. There is a sunrise appointed for every season of trial. What you must do now is endure the night without forfeiting the promise. Endurance is not passive. It is active agreement with God in the face of opposition. It is the quiet refusal to bow to fear. It is the steady choice to keep moving forward even if each step feels heavier than the last. Endurance is faith made visible in the way you live while you wait, and the reward for endurance is always greater than the pain it required. When the breakthrough comes, and it will, you will look back and realize that the pressure did not just test your faith, it expanded your capacity to carry the blessing. So tonight, as the pressure mounts, choose to see it through the eyes of heaven. You are not being buried, you are being planted. The darkness around you is not the darkness of a grave, but the darkness of a womb where something new is being formed. And when the appointed time comes, the very pressure that seemed to close you in will be the force that propels you into the open. God will use the weight to launch you higher than you could have climbed on your own. This is why you cannot quit in the middle of test, because the middle is where the miracle is being formed. Let the pressure do its work, chosen one. Let it strip away every false reliance. Let it press you closer to the heart of God. Let it teach you the strength you did not know you had. For when you emerge from this season, you will carry not only the promise you longed for, but the unshakable faith that can withstand any storm. And that kind of faith is the most powerful possession you will ever hold. Tonight, heaven is not asking for your perfection. It is asking for your persistence. The test is not whether you can avoid the fire, but whether you can walk through it without losing your trust. Pass this test, and the very pressure that tried to break you will become the testimony that makes you. There is a power in silence that the world does not understand, a strength in stillness that defies the chaos around you. In a world addicted to noise, opinions, and constant explanation, the most dangerous and effective thing you can do in the Spirit is to quietly agree with God without announcing it to anyone. Silent agreement is not passivity. It is the unshakable posture of a soul that has already settled the matter with heaven. It is when you look at the promise, hear the word God has spoken over your life, and, without fanfare, without convincing anyone, without broadcasting your decision, you anchor yourself to it like a rock in deep waters. People may not see it, but the unseen realm knows when you have said your inward yes, and that yes carries a power that shakes the atmosphere, because it is the place where your will and God's will merge into one. The danger of sharing too much, too soon, is that others can speak doubt into what God has given you. Words are seeds, and if you allow the wrong ones to be planted in your mind, they can choke the faith that is just beginning to sprout. Silent agreement with God is like a seed kept in the warm soil of your spirit, protected from cold winds until it is ready to break the surface. Too many dreams have been uprooted because they were exposed to criticism before they had time to take root. The enemy knows he cannot stop a word that God has spoken, so he tries to smother it with discouragement, mockery, or logic. But when your agreement remains between you and God, it is kept in a sacred place where no outside hand can touch it. Silent agreement is not about doing nothing. It is about doing the unseen work that nobody applauds. It is about waking each morning and, before you speak to anyone, reaffirming in your heart, God, I trust you. I believe what you have said about me. I hold to your promise as my reality, even when I cannot yet see it. That agreement is not dependent on circumstances. It does not shift when the bank account dips, when the door closes, or when the news turns dark. It remains because it is rooted in the character of God, not in the evidence of the moment. And because it is hidden, it is protected. Because it is protected, it has the strength to endure, and because it endures, it eventually manifests in undeniable ways. Think of Mary, the mother of Jesus. When the angel told her she would carry the Savior of the world, she did not run into the streets to announce it to everyone. She carried that word in the silence of her heart, nurturing it in faith until the appointed time. Scripture says she pondered these things in her heart. That is the essence of silent agreement. holding the promise close, letting it grow in the safety of your spirit, and refusing to let the noise of the world contaminate it. The same principle applied to Joseph when God gave him dreams. His mistake was not receiving the vision, it was sharing it with those who were not ready to hear it. And what happened? Jealousy and betrayal rose against him. But when he later learned to walk in the quiet, God brought the dream to pass without his needing to convince a single soul. Silent agreement with God is also a form of warfare. The enemy thrives on reaction. He wants you to get frantic, to argue, to defend yourself, to waste energy fighting battles that don't matter. But when you choose silence, when you refuse to engage in every provocation, you rob him of his power. Your calm in the face of accusation confuses him. Your refusal to explain yourself frustrates him. Your quiet trust in God is like a shield he cannot pierce. The battle may rage around you, but within you remain anchored to the unshakable truth that God will do what he has promised. This is not to say you will never speak about what God has told you, but timing is everything. There will be a day to testify, a day to shout the victory, a day to let your story encourage others. But before that day comes, there is a season of protecting the word through silence. Just as a gardener does not dig up a seed every day to check if it's growing, you must resist the urge to expose what God is developing in secret. Growth in the kingdom often begins in obscurity. The oak tree spends years developing unseen roots before it ever rises in strength above the ground. Your silent yes is building those roots in your spirit, ensuring that when your promise emerges, it will stand against every storm. Silent agreement also requires trust in God's ability to defend you. Sometimes you will be misunderstood. Sometimes people will assume the worst because they do not see the whole picture. The urge to defend yourself will be strong, but you must resist it. When you stay silent, you leave room for God to reveal the truth in his timing, and when he does, the vindication will be so complete, so undeniable, that it will silence every voice that spoke against you. If you try to clear your own name, you may win the argument but lose the testimony. But if you let God clear it, the testimony will glorify him in ways your words never could. Chosen one, there is a quiet authority that comes when you have made peace with God's word in your heart. You no longer scramble for signs or proof you know, and that knowing radiates without a single sentence. People will sense something in you they cannot explain. They will see the steadiness in your eyes, the peace in your demeanor, and they will wonder what holds you together. What they will not realize is that your anchor is not in anything visible. It is in the invisible covenant you have made with your Creator. You have settled it. If God said it, it is so. The world measures commitment by outward noise, by declarations, by announcements, by public displays. But heaven measures it by the depth of your inner agreement. The enemy is not afraid of a loud voice with shallow faith. He trembles before a silent believer whose faith runs deep, because that kind of faith cannot be shaken by opinion, delay, or appearance. That kind of faith is not swayed by what it hears. It is grounded in what it knows, and when the time comes, that faith will produce fruit so undeniable that it will speak louder than any public announcement ever could. So tonight, in the stillness of your spirit, renew your silent agreement with God. Do not rush to tell everyone your next move. Do not feel pressured to explain the vision he has given you. Just carry it, protect it, water it with prayer, feed it with the word, guard it against the weeds of doubt, and trust that in the fullness of time, what you have agreed upon in private will be displayed in public for the glory of God. The power of your silent yes is that it aligns heaven and earth on your behalf without you lifting a finger, and when it manifests, the world will know not because you told them, but because God showed them. There is a sacred and hidden truth that few ever come to understand. The most decisive battles in your life are not fought in public with raised voices or dramatic gestures. They are fought in the quiet chambers of your own soul, where only you and God can hear the sound of your agreement. You see, the visible world is simply a mirror of the invisible, and the invisible is governed not by the noise of your lips, but by the posture of your inner man. Heaven responds not to the loudness of your prayers, but to the depth of your surrender, not to the eloquence of your words, but to the authenticity of your faith. Tonight may break or make you, not because of what others will say or do, but because of whether your heart will bow in trust or stand in rebellion. Many people cry out for God to change their situation, but they never allow him to change their position within. They beg for the storm to stop without ever realizing that the calm must begin in them before it can manifest around them. The silent agreement is not passive. It is a profound, conscious alignment of your will with God's will, where you cease the inner argument, release the demand to understand, and say, "Yes, Lord," even when the path ahead is still in shadow. This is the agreement that opens the floodgates of heaven, because it signals that you are no longer resisting the work of His hands in your life. Without it, you can pray, fast, declare, and strive, but the heavens remain as brass, not because God is unwilling, but because the foundation of trust has not been laid. The truth is, the silent agreement is often born out of pain, out of nights where you wrestle with God like Jacob until your own strength is broken, and you can no longer stand in your own power. That breaking is not your end. It is your rebirth into a realm where you understand that every delay, every closed door, every unanswered prayer was not denial but divine choreography, setting you in position for a destiny you could not yet see. When you reach this point, you stop trying to manipulate outcomes. You stop trying to convince people to see your worth. You stop chasing what was never meant to be yours. Instead, you rest in the knowing that what God has ordained cannot be stolen, cannot be lost, and cannot be delayed beyond His appointed time. The silent agreement changes the atmosphere because it changes you. Your words carry new weight, your prayers carry new authority, your presence carries new peace. And here is the mystery. Once you step into this inner alignment, the outer world begins to bend toward you. Doors open without you knocking, help arrives without you asking, and provision flows without you chasing it. That is because heaven is no longer waiting on you to agree. It is now free to release what it has held in reserve for the moment you are ready to carry it without it destroying you. Chosen one, tonight the question is not whether God will move, it is whether you will agree. Will you keep wrestling with what is, or will you lean into what He is doing even when it contradicts your logic? Will you keep praying for Him to change the picture, or will you agree to let Him change your vision so you can see the picture differently? The silent agreement is not glamorous. It is often messy, tear-stained, and born in the midnight hour when no one else is watching. But it is in that place where heaven leans in, where the angels stand ready, and where the breakthrough you have been waiting for is released in an instant. You do not need the approval of people for this, only the witness of God in your spirit that says, "Now we are one in purpose." And once that witness comes, you will walk into tomorrow not as someone hoping for a miracle, but as someone carrying the miracle inside, fully confident that the God who began this work will finish it in His perfect time. Tonight, the silent agreement you make will not just shape your future. It will echo into eternity.